Okay, so a brief practical session this week rather than a talk. So I've just come back from a run, back to the tips, and I have done a little bit of post-run stretches, if you like, or movements just to loosen up. And what I thought I would go through today is this thing about opening around the front of the hip flexors and our ability to be able to maneuver and bounce forward from the back of the mat to the front of the mat. So we've been doing a little bit of that last week in our sun salutations. So we'll have a little bit of a warm-up and I'll give you just some suggestions that might help work on this, and I'll show you a few things you could explore and play with if you wanted to. Yes, okay. So we'll give it a go. So I'm going to start on hands and knees. I'm just going to loosen up through the spine and get a little bit more movement in the area around the pelvis, which is also going to create a little bit of support and opening for the hip flexors. So this cat-cow position, which we're really familiar with, just see if you can grow into your cat and then just go back to neutral. Grow into your cat and come back to neutral. So that involves a rounding of the back, a dipping of the pelvis, a lengthening through the hip flexors, a lengthening through the arms, allowing the neck to extend and the head to be heavy. And relax. And then let's see how we go with the cow bit. So coming into your cow, so the chest comes forward. Again, there's a little bit of an uplift through the palms of the hands and the arms. And there's a lengthening through the upper part of the spine, and there's a change here in the pelvic area, and back to neutral, and into the cow. So there's a shoulder opening. Yeah, so shoulder go away from each other as you kind of look forward to get this opening across the front of the chest. So we can then move from cat to cow, and we can find the smooth way through. How can we find a smooth way through? So not overdoing the cow, particularly if there's any lower back issues. Leaving that. Okay, so from here, we're just going to go into neutral for a moment. And tucking the toes under, taking the hands slightly further forward. We're going to do the rocking forward and back. We're going to do it with as much containment without absolutely full-on tightness to support the area around the lower back and around the inner thighs, pelvic area, pelvic floor. So think about bringing things into the center. So a little bit of squeeze of the thighs, butts operating and belly operating. And then go back and think more about reaching back at your bottom, activating, reaching back at your bottom. So the rock is not just unsupported, there's actually activity going on to stabilize around that center without completely locking yourself out of capacity to breathe here. See if that, and then just switch it off. So you soft belly, go back and forth, just soft belly, go back and forth, and then switch the activity on. If that's beginning to make sense, don't worry if it's not. Okay. And from here, just come up into downward facing dog and just see how that is. So thinking about bending knees and sort of reaching back to lengthen the spine. down to your knees. Okay, so coming up and stepping forward with one foot. Okay, so having that power again in the centre, just activation in the thighs, but without going into the lower back. Without going to the lower back, and a little bit of an uplift here. And just see from there what the options are to come forward to get a little bit more length on the back of, on the hip flexor positioning. So you're not looking to reach forward a long way. There's just this ability to contain in the centre that will restrict in order to give you the support you need to stay safe in the back, particularly, and still open up here without over opening. Okay, and then we can put the fingers to the floor, we can tuck the toe under the back foot, and we can just come up on our first side. And we can do the same sort of movement forward and back, but again with containment in the centre. So a little bit of support through the belly, inner thighs here, if you can switch those on. Okay. And stepping forward with that back leg to the front. So we've done this many times, and just hanging it out there for a minute. If you feel comfortable bobbing up and down, then bob up and down. If you don't, just be still. And then heading back on the opposite side, do it in reverse, back and forth here, back and forth here. Containment in the centre, knee down, untuck, come up, forward and back, with containment, with length, with relaxed shoulders, the usual. Interesting. Let's get my alignment right there. Okay, that fits better. Okay. And fingers down, toes under, and again, stepping forward. Okay, so from here, if backs are okay, then we're just going to try something out in terms of jumping back into downward dog with both legs, if you wish to. Okay. So I'm on the forefingers rather than on my palms, so I've got, I'm getting the bounce going before I've actually started to think about moving, and then I just jump back to where I jump back to. So it might not be as far if I want to go. Let's just see how it goes. Get the bum, side body open a little bit here. Okay, so the option of just turning back into a bouncy person and heading forward. So it's a jump rather than throw and a bounce. So it's much more of a bounce up rather than a bounce forward. Yeah, strong. So it won't be good for people whose backs are struggling right now. So one more jump. Hands down for a moment. Loosen the back of the legs. Enjoy that lengthening, that movement. So we're just going to step with one foot forward, which we've been doing more recently anyway. So again, a little bit of opening. A little bit of opening. At some point, got to come forward. So it's rolling on that back foot to get you further forward, using the knee, using the foot to step. Second leg is usually happy to come back. So I step forward with my left foot, so I'm going to try with my opposite foot next. So, opposite leg, opposite leg. You can can bend that standing leg as much as you wish to get a little bit of this openness, openness, openness. Point. The work with that back leg, remember, helps loads. And forward. Okay. So you may have to watch that a few times. So it's certainly before we did the jumps, we're trying to get the body to be a little bit more contained. We're trying to get a little bit more opening for the work with the spine, work with the hip flexors, then working with the bounce and the rock, and then just playing with it from there within safety. So if back feels unstable, it may be something that's just not going to work for you. Maybe you can jump back, but you can't jump forward. So you can play with that bit if you wish to. You can try, but again, it's, be safe, and just experiment and see if you can find your bounce this weekend. All right, take care and see you for the last week of this course on strength without strain next week. All right, take care. Happy running.